What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. It's very nice to be here with you. Finally be here with you again. Oh, after such a long break. People asking, oh, are you still streaming? And I'll be like, well, in a sense, yes. In a sense, no. But in a sense, yes, because here I am back with you today. And I have a very exciting reveal. It's a boy. No. I have an exciting reveal. Something changed while I was gone. Here we go. Interesting. It's going to take some getting used to. I feel like, hang on a second. I feel like it's a little underexposed. That's better. Yes, the new cameras are up. Yes. Can't you see the difference? Doesn't it look so much better? I'm not sure. We're still working on the color. This is what's coming literally out of my camera right now. Hang on. This is what's coming literally out of my camera. That doesn't look like much, does it? But that's how professional cameras do it. You don't know, but actually the worse the image looks coming out of your camera, the better the camera. So this comes out of the camera, and then you do something to it, and it looks like this. And we're still tweaking this. This is not, but we're working on it. Yeah. I can't decide. Now, you guys let me know. Which looks better, A, hang on, or B? Do you see that? The background is a little bit sharper. Don't worry about the color grade. The background is a little bit sharper. It's also a little bit underexposed. B or A? A is a little bit more blurry bokeh effect. Like you can even see like the chair is slightly out of focus. And it's got that cinematic look. And then B is, hang on. B is a little bit underexposed, so let that slide. But B is just a little bit less bokeh effect. Oh, let's do it. Let's do a poll. Start a poll. Which looks better? Which looked better? A, more A, more blurry background. B, less blurry background. Start a poll. Okay. I think we're going to stick with this right now. And hang on. I can... There we go. That's going to be the right exposure. There we go. That's a closer to correct exposure. Yeah, well, the color grade is not final. But we didn't have time to finish it because I didn't give Fabio enough time to work on it. So, yeah, I'll show you a thing that I can do with this camera. This is like, in addition to like better image quality, potentially better color, etc., things that like only me and Fabio will notice. Here's the number one thing I'm happy about this camera can do. You ready for it? Oh my God, it has a usable autofocus! Yeah, that's right. That's a Sony camera, and Sony cameras have great autofocus. Panasonic cameras have shit autofocus, at least they have up until very, very recently. And yeah. Yeah, I think this color grade is a little too saturated. Whereas, you know, it's a little more, you know, we could, hang on. Oh, don't, hang on. Hang on. No, see, that's not right either. That's more neutral colors, but now it's super overexposed. What happened there? Why is it so overexposed? That's more neutral. Huh? Little more natural colors. I'm not sure if that, yeah. I don't know. But, oh, Fabio's in the chat. Uh-oh. Oh, Fabio will cry if I leave this color grade on for the rest of the stream. That's, what is that, 500? Yeah. Fabio's dying. He's dying inside. All right. Okay. He's like, Fabio is going to make a new color grade during the stream and send me the LUT and beg me. So this is, hang on. He's going to beg me to put a new, let's see. There we go. He's going to beg me to put a new LUT. Just so people don't see this. Anyway. Anyway. Okay, we are 82% towards the less blurry background. Okay, so that was my instinct as well. That was my instinct as well. No, my old cameras were all manual focus. Because I couldn't deal, because the autofocus on the Panasonic was so terrible. So, anyway, yay, I have new camera equipment. The color grade, Fabio formally disagrees. Yes, I know. I know you do. I know. We'll keep working on the color grade. I will be using this color grade because out of respect for my editor and my color grader, even though it's not as good of a job as he could have done if he had been given more time, which is my fault. Nevertheless, bros for life. Yeah. We will get to your questions. Let's get to your questions. Hey, Fabio. Hey, Fabio. This is why we need to do the LUT in the camera, not in OBS. Well, I guess we could... Hang on a second. Hang on. Filters. JB Headcam LUT. Browse. Downloads. Hold on. Oh, there we go. I fixed it, sort of. Okay. As I was. Okay, great. I'm going to take your questions. Blunty's queuing up your questions. We're going to answer them. Here's the queue. Here we go. Let's get on with it. Why does the SkyZone M5 come with left-hand polarized antennas instead of right-hand polarized? Does it? What does it come with? These are linear antennas.
Game timers are deploying again, apparently.
Okay, thank you for that. Weird. Something about going to that. Anyway, doesn't matter. Thank you, Blunty. Near as I can tell, it comes with linear polarized antennas. Why do you think it comes with left-hand polarized antennas? Is it because I had left-hand polarized antennas on it in my video?
I'm very happy to be reviewing that it's dead. And if we click that jog wheel, it brings up the menu, and we can change the band.
Yeah, I don't know why you think it comes with left-hand polarized antennas. Nowhere does it say that it does. The antennas here are standard linear antennas. Is there anywhere where it's shown coming with left-hand polarized antennas? I don't think so. So I think you're wrong. Yeah, I just think you're wrong. Okay, well, chat, if I've missed something, let me know. These are linear antennas. Okay, great. Glad we could get that out of the way, and we will just move right on. Here's a €5 super chat from Niels Kostume. I'm looking for an analog whoop that performs well in low light. I thought about switching camera on a bind and fly. Suggestions for frames and cams. So it's a great idea when you're looking for a tiny whoop to find a bind and fly. I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to say the word tiny whoop. Tiny Whoop is a registered trademark of Jesse Perkins, and Tiny Whoop, his company, he has a trademark on that. And he recently requested that I stop using the phrase tiny whoop unless I was literally referring to one of his products or his company. I was a little surprised at this. I've known for years that he had a trademark on that, and I didn't... but, you know, I was like, well, surely that's ridiculous. And so he said basically, well, the way that trademarks work is if you don't defend them, then you're at risk of what's called dilution and you lose them. And I said, okay. And he said to me, so I would like you to stop using the term tiny whoop on your website unless you're referring specifically to one of my products. And I said, Jesse, surely... I understand that from a legal perspective, you have to ask me this. Like, I once made a video about 3M branded dual lock fastener. Hang on, Niels, I'll get back to your question. And basically, I titled the video, Velcro Sucks, This Is Better. I was saying that the 3M branded dual lock fastener was better than Velcro. And I got an email from a person working for the Velcro company, or whoever makes Velcro, whatever that company is. And they said, can we please remind you that Velcro should always be referred to as Velcro TM branded fastener. And the idea is that, you know how you like say, I'm going to Xerox a paper. The term Xerox has been diluted to the point where it just means copy. And if your term becomes diluted in that way, you can lose your trademark. That is a real and legitimate thing that can happen. And so companies are obligated to defend their trademark and to send out messages saying, hey, it's not Velcro, it is Velcro TM dual brand. And they literally requested that I change the title of the video from Velcro Sucks, This Is Better to Velcro TM branded fastener sucks, This Is Better. I'm not joking, that was their ask. They didn't want me to stop saying that it sucked. They just wanted to defend their trademark and ensure that I was referring to it in the correct way. So I said to Jesse, Jesse, can I say on my website, Tiny Whoop is a registered trademark of Jesse Perkins, but everybody just uses Tiny Whoop. Well, you know, we all know what we mean when we say Tiny Whoop, and so that's what I'm going to do on this website. I said, Jesse, is it sufficient for you to have asked me not to use your terminology that way, and then I ignore you, as I always have, and we all just kind of nod at each other, wink at each other, and we go about our business. And he said, nope, I'm sorry, man, I can't. I have to essentially... Well, he said, I don't want to do this. I just wanted this to be a nice, cordial thing between friends. And I said, me too. So can you just not do it, and we'll just be friends? And he said, I have to defend my trademark. And I said, so essentially what you're doing, even though you're not saying it out loud, is you're threatening to sue me if I don't change the title. If I don't stop referring to these things as Tiny Whoop. And he said, again, I don't want to like misspeak and then put myself at risk of slander or libel or whatever it would be, defamation. But the gist of the conversation was that he didn't want it to come to that. But also, when you're saying my lawyers told me I have to come to you and say this, the ultimate effect of not doing the thing you're being asked to do is that you get sued. That's like if somebody pulls a gun out and they say, hey, put your hands in the air. They may not be pointing the gun at you yet, but the implication is that if you don't do what they say, then this is going to go a certain way. And when somebody says, hey, my lawyers asked me to come to you and make a request of you, the implication is that no matter how friendly you are when you're asking, if you don't do it, eventually I will sue you. So I said, okay, well, if that's how you feel about it, I will stop referring to anything as a Tiny Whoop unless it's your product. But also, this leaves a really bad taste in my mouth, and it disinclines me to talk about any of your products. So, I accidentally said tiny whoop there. An analog whoop. Whoop is okay. You can say whoop, but you can't say tiny whoop. And I accidentally said tiny whoop there when we weren't specifically talking about a branded product by Tiny Whoop, owned by Jesse Perkins. So, my mistake. I will try to refrain from doing that. I have the utmost respect for Jesse Perkins and everything he's done. I have the utmost respect for him as a person. He is the coolest dude in FPV. He is so chill. He is the least and I think it killed him to have to come ask me this. I don't think he would have done it unless he felt like he absolutely had to. So, nevertheless, it annoys the shit out of me that he trademarked this term. And it annoys the shit out of me that he, great, you created a term that is wildly successful, and everyone just refers to every little 65mm whoop as a tiny whoop, and your take from that is that the value of you owning that term is so much higher than the goodwill you would potentially... I don't know. That's your decision to make. It's your trademark, and you have to decide what to do with it. It annoys the shit out of me, and I think it's a mistake, but that's just me. So, now I don't blame the guy for trying to feed his family. I don't see how the specific value of the trademark relates to that. I would think make great products, you know? The term, in my opinion, the term has been diluted. The term tiny whoop has been diluted. Whenever someone says tiny whoop, they are not thinking of his company. That horse has left the barn. And you can't put that cat back in the bag, or whatever the saying is, right? That's done. Toothpaste back in the tube. So since the term has been diluted, all you've got left is goodwill. You go around defending your trademark like that, you don't have that either. But that's his prerogative and his business. Okay, anyway. Sorry, I got off on a little bit of a bitch. I'm looking for... Let me start again. Niels Cosdoom, thank you for €5 super chat. I'm looking for an analog whoop that performs well in low light. I thought about switching the camera on a bind and fly. It's a great idea to buy a bind and fly whoop and to use that instead of starting from scratch. If you buy all the parts to build a little 65mm whoop on your own, you will spend way more money, and you'll end up buying the same shit you would have bought if you had just bought a bind and fly. So it's a great idea to find a bind and fly that's 75% or 80% of what you want, and then just modify the bind and fly if you feel like doing that. The problem is, I'm not aware of any whoop cameras, whoop-sized cameras, that have great low light performance. So I'm going to rely on the chat and tell me. The thing is, they all have teeny tiny little sensors because they're all trying to be as light as possible. So I'm just not sure which of them are going to... Oh. Okay. Okay, Fabio. Fabio immediately, I'm sorry, it's like 9 p.m. where he's 8 p.m. where he is. He's like, I have to fix this. Oh, this is way better. I like this way better. Thank you, Fabio. So is there a really good low light camera that fits on a whoop? Chat? I don't know of one. Neil says the Foxier Nano Toothless Starlight. Oh, okay. Oh, that's not... No. But that's not a whoop camera. I mean, what size is it? That's not sized for a 65mm whoop. Like, a 65mm whoop camera isn't going to have a case like this. You know? This is, what is a 14mm? No. What does that weigh? I mean, we're not going to get a weight because it's not a whoop camera, so they're not going to tell us the weight. Where's the weight? Can we get the weight?
I think there's a specs tab you can click over to, maybe.
I was looking for that. I didn't see it. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Plenty. Weight, 3.1 grams. Well, so like this is what I think of when I think of like a whoop camera. It's basically a bare board with a lens. And it's okay. You know what though? 2 grams versus 3 grams? I mean, on a 65 millimeter whoop, 1 gram is not nothing, but to get the kind of low light performance you want, maybe. This could work. Maybe it could work. What's the mounting? Is it 14 millimeter mounting? Yeah, 14 millimeter mounting. Okay. So this could work. It still feels a little bit big to be on a whoop. 1 gram of weight. That's doable. Any other suggestions in the chat? Niels, what I would say is if you're looking for the smallest drone that will carry a low light camera, if you were to go up from a 65 millimeter to a 75 millimeter or even an 85 millimeter, now you have no problem. You just have your pick, I would say. I think trying to do a 65 millimeter is going to be a little bit of a struggle just because they're very sensitive to any amount of weight. But even going up to a 75 would probably be pretty good. FTFO media, that's good. Refer to everything as a teeny whoop now. A teeny whoop. We'll make a new term. I will now trademark the term teeny whoop. Can I do that? Blunty, you're the closest thing I have to like a legal expert. I know, that's sad, isn't it? If I were to trademark the term teeny whoop, would that obscure or interfere with the trademark on tiny whoop? What about?
I believe they also have teensy whoop, so probably yes.
Wow, no, really? Oh man.
They at least sell products named teensy. I'm not sure if they trademarked it. Either way, it doesn't seem like productive discussion. I know why you're doing it.
Because I'm cynical and bitter, and I don't like being told what to do. Oh, that's what you meant. You already knew that. You were just saying that's not a good idea and it's not productive. Let's get on with our life. Okay, let's get on with our life. My Mobula 6 2024 is completely bricked after a firmware flash. My computer won't even see it's connected. Hold down the bootloader button, plug in USB, and put it into bootloader mode. Every flight controller has a way to go into bootloader mode. Bootloader mode is baked into the ROM. It's baked into the hardware on this chip. Baked in. And cannot be bricked. And so you will press that bootloader button. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Press that bootloader button right there. Hold it down. Plug in USB. And you should be able to flash it. If it won't do that, there are only 2 things it could be. So what if it won't go into DFU mode? One choice is that the drivers on your computer are effed up. Okay? Sometimes the DFU driver on the computer gets effed up. You could try to reinstall your drivers or whatever. That's unlikely. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's not common in my experience. Another possibility is that the hardware on the flight controller is effed up. It's just broken. It's possible. It's not super likely. Another possibility is that if you have another device on the flight controller on certain UARTs, certain devices, when the flight controller powers up, one of the things it looks for is, should I go into bootloader mode? And one way to put it in bootloader mode is to hold down that button. But in addition, what if you have this chip and it's installed on a device where the bootloader isn't accessible? What you can do is you can connect a serial interface to a certain UART. And if that UART is active on power up, the flight controller goes, or the chip goes into bootloader mode on that UART. And the idea there is that you could flash the chip even without being able to push the bootloader button. We don't do that with our flight controllers at all. Like, theoretically, you could. But if you have a receiver or a GPS unit on, I think it's UARTs 1 or 4 on certain chips. If that is powered up at the time that the flight controller powers up, it will go into DFU mode on that UART 1 or 4, instead of the USB port. And that will basically mean that it won't go into DFU mode on the USB port. So if you have a flight controller that won't go into USB or into DFU mode, even when you hold down the button, what you should do is you should unplug or desolder everything that's on a UART, the video transmitter, the GPS, the receiver, and see if that fixes it. How do I install a driver fixer on Mac? Asks Calfrix. Driver fixer does not apply to Mac OS. The issue that driver fixer fixes is unique to Windows. So if you're on a Mac, forget that driver fixer exists. It does not apply to you in any way. And people will say, hey, did you try driver fixer? And that's because they just assume you're on Windows, because most people are. Blue D says, I broke my Tiny Whoop after about a week. Yeah, makes sense. I bought it on Amazon. Should I return it? No. You bought it, you flew it, you crashed it, you broke it. What makes you think you get to return it? It's not defective. I understand I'm being a little irate with you and you probably don't deserve it. But crashing a drone and breaking it does not mean the drone is defective. You used it as intended. Drones are not indestructible. You were delivered a working product. And the reason I'm a little bit irate is because I've seen the other side of it. Rotor Riot actually sold products on Amazon for a while. There was a Rotor Riot store on Amazon. And the problem is that Amazon is so strict about returns. If you have a store on Amazon and you don't handle your customer returns extremely generously, Amazon just is like, fine, you don't get a store anymore. So people would return a box of rocks. I'm not joking. Literally, people would buy a product, take the product out, put literal trash in the box, and return the box. And Amazon would say, you need to refund their money. And there was no mechanism for Rotor Riot to say, this guy sent us a box of rocks. They just had to return the money. And if you want to keep selling on Amazon, F you, that's what you got to do. And that's why when you look on Amazon and stores are raising their prices on Amazon, that's why. Because they're losing so much money in some cases to rip off returns that they just have to eat. So they raise their prices on Amazon. So if you bought a product on Amazon and you legitimately didn't get what you paid for, then return it. I return shit to Amazon all the time. I take advantage of Amazon's generous return policy, but it's like I'm returning a new product, not a product that I broke. So if the frame is cracked, buy another frame. Just replace the frame. Don't try to super glue it. It's not worth it. Frames on Tiny Whoops are consumable items. You will crash. They will crack. You buy another one. I hear that the Beta FPV cockroach frame is very durable. Is that still true, everybody? That's what I remember seeing. One of the motor wires pulled out of the internals. Okay, you need a new motor then. You're going to replace the motor. You're going to replace the frame. Welcome to the world of FPV. You will crash. Things will break. You will fix them. That's how it works. Ah, he said Tiny Whoop. Maybe it's a legitimate Tiny Whoop.
Newbie Drone Cockroach is the frame.
Newbie Drone Cockroach? What's the Beta FPV frame? Is the Newbie Drone Cockroach the super durable one?
It is fairly durable in my experience, but I don't know.
Maybe Ultimate FPV shopping list, Tiny Whoop. Let me go check my website. What's the recommended frame? Beta FPV Meteor 65. So Ciotti, this is from Aaron Ciotti. He recommends the Beta FPV Meteor 65 Whoop frame. The Cockroach frame has a warranty, doesn't it? Does it have a warranty? Lifetime warranty. Frame has a life. So the Newbie Drone Cockroach frame apparently has a lifetime warranty, and Blunty says in his experience it's fairly durable. Excuse me. Ciotti recommends the Beta FPV Meteor 65 as very durable, although I'm not sure that that recommendation is up to date. It's a little bit of an outdated recommendation. What's the best way to save the Meteor 75 Pro 04 weak posts? Custom canopy? It's a tough one. SG. I have stayed away from the Meteor 75 Pro. On the stock props, I think it doesn't fly that well. Ciotti has recommendations for upgraded props. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. Sorry, I can't do better. I would have skipped that question if I had actually read it, because I just don't have a good answer. I acknowledge your question. Dave S. See, I knew the chat would get on it. Dave S. says he thinks 12 or 14 millimeter screws fix the post issue, but they are hard to source. Because they're a weird diameter. Yeah. All right, well, Dave, thank you for the suggestion. We got a super chat here from Brown Solo, who says, I was recently given a 23,000 milliamp hour 6S high volt Tattoo LiPo battery. It's a big boy. Can I use this thing for anything FPV related? Well, don't toss it, Brown Solo. I mean, that's an expensive battery. Like, how much is that battery? I don't know if it's this exact battery. This is a 23,000 milliamp hour 6S. It's a $500 battery, my dude. Oops, let me fix this real quick. Head cam green screen. Hold on. There we go. Did the music start again? No. I don't know why it started the last time. Okay, there we go. Much better. Beautiful, beautiful. That's a $500 battery. At the very least, you can frickin' try to sell it, right? What I would do with this, I would use it as a field charging pack. If you just can't think of anything else to do with it, just use it to plug your charger into it and charge packs off it. You charge a lot of packs off it. How many watt hours does it say it's rated for? 524 watt hours. So 524 watt hours. A typical like 5-inch battery is maybe 23 watt hours. You could charge 22 batteries off of this. You could charge batteries all day off of this. You know? So, but if you just really legitimately don't want it, you could try to sell it. Although people may be a little bit squeamish about paying too much money for a used LiPo that might have been abused or damaged. So you may not get a very good price out of it. If you were to put that up for sale for $300, somebody would probably buy it. That's for a big ass quadcopter. That's for a big ass quadcopter. Yeah. Good luck. Let's see. Let's get a couple more super chats out of the way. I have a TBS Tango 2 and a Croc 75 V3, and I have no clue on how to get it set up. Is there a video I can use to walk me through start to finish? Troll Media Group, we're going to assume that you have a Crossfire receiver on that Croc 75 V3, because otherwise you can't bind to the Tango 2. I have an old video. Let's see. Here's a 2023 update for a TBS Crossfire beginner guide. Let me reference you to this video. Although it's the 2023 update, it's probably still pretty relevant. Look at that guy. Every time I see old video of myself, I'm like, huh. I looked different. Oh, I look so young. Oh. Yeah. TBS Crossfire Beginner Guide 2023 update. It's going to show you update the firmware on your module, configure Betaflight, download the Agent Light script. You probably don't have to do that, etc., etc., etc. So that's where I would point you. Have you seen the new Hello Radio V14 Max? No, but let's look. I might have seen this, actually. Hello Radio V14 Max. I mean, this... Am I crazy, or does this look like just some offshoot of Radiomaster? I mean, that sure looks like an AG01 gimbal, doesn't it? Blunty, do you have any idea about the relationship between Hello Radio and Radiomaster? Hello Radio V14 Max.
No idea.
So the question is, like, I know for a fact that Radiomaster has sold their AG01 gimbals to other companies for use in their radios. I'm going to presume that's the case here, that this is not like a Radiomaster offshoot. I couldn't say, whether it is, a sister company or whether they're just selling the gimbals. I don't know, man. I'm hesitant to dive in to companies without like an established track record. Like, if there's something you like really want about this radio, like I do like the fact that it has it's got a foldable antenna. It's got a form factor similar to a GX12, but with a foldable antenna. Oh, I dig that. GX12 also has foldable antenna, I guess, technically. I don't know. Like, I feel like, on the one hand, like, competition is good for the market, but on the other hand, when there's a clear market leader, there has to be a compelling reason to go with a different company. So for $213, I can get this Hello Radio V14 Max. Radiomaster GX12, $169. All right, doesn't have metal gimbals. Not yet. It will soon, I'm sure. That's just always what Radiomaster does. Like... Radiomaster Boxer Crush has metal gimbals. $189. $189 for a Boxer Crush. Has metal gimbals. So, like, I'm paying more. I'm paying significantly more, especially... I was going to say depending on tariffs, but whatever. Forget about that for now. I'm paying significantly more than a Boxer Crush for a company that I have no idea who they are, what their build quality is, what their QC, what their warranty process is. It's a complete shot in the dark. And I feel like I should get a discount for that. So I don't think I would pay $213 for this radio when I could pay $189 for a Boxer Crush. Or $170 for a GX12. You see what I mean? That's how I see it. And it's tricky because, like, there have been times when I've thought Radiomaster just is clearly the one to get. And I thought, do I want to live in a world where companies like Jumper don't exist? No, I'm glad Radiomaster has some competition. I think that most Jumper products are inferior to most Radiomaster products. But if Radiomaster, we also know that when there's no competition, then things sort of shitify. So, I don't know. Like, I want other people to keep buying Jumper and Hello to Sky and all these other companies so they can still exist. But personally, I just would buy the Radiomaster every time. And you probably would too. So, I don't know who's. There was one of the people working for Hello Radio at EdgeTX Fest last year, so I jumped to the conclusion too fast. What conclusion? Yeah, anyway. About them being an official partner. Gotcha. Frank FPV, thank you for a 59 Norwegian kroner. I tested the Goggles X with the Moonlight kit after flying the G303. Crazy fisheye. Am I just spoiled or is something off? No, I mean, they're going to have a different field of view. I don't know if I remember there being crazy fisheye on the Moonlight. The O3 has an ultra wide angle lens, but you don't see it when you're flying because they crop in. And if you actually record in ultra wide, you can see the full wide angle lens on the onboard recording, not the DVR, not the in-goggle DVR. It may just be that the moonlight is showing you the full wide angle. I actually do think I remember complaining about the field of view. I take that back. It's been a minute since I flew the moonlight.
I feel like it's...
I do think I actually now remember complaining about the field of view. Firmware situation is a mess. Low light file is corrupted. If you lose power, nighttime comparison. Yes, test flight. Should you buy it?
About into videos. Never, and I will never put them behind a paywall. Way for you. You can support
Bardwell.
me. For my if today's not...
All right.
As usual, Cadex, you have released a product that is, like, pretty good in a lot of ways, but also, like, has some room to improve and does some really weird, inscrutable things, like the stupid freaking way that the USB plug works when you update it. Anyway, set that aside. The Moonlight is a solid 4K camera for, like, if you want to give up a GoPro and still get reasonably high quality results. It's going to definitively produce better looking results than any of the other FPV cameras that Cadex puts out, not just because of their 1080p recording.
No, I don't see it. I do remember the field of view being kind of wide. And the difference, I think, is that in Walksnail, they show the whole field of view, and DJI, they crop in the goggles. So, there you go, though. Nice shirt. Thank you, Kevin J. I have not been playing golf. I actually had a meeting this morning that I went to with somebody local, and I just felt like looking, you know, you go into a meeting, you kind of feel like looking nice, stylish. And, yeah, I asked my wife, I said to my wife, what do you think of this? What do you think of this shirt? I was like, how do you think I'm looking? She said, and I quote, "It looks a little gay." And I said, I'm okay with that. I want to be very clear that she's not homophobic in the least. She's using gay as a neutral descriptor. And I was like, yeah, no, that's okay. It looks a little gay, and I'm okay with it. Gay men are very fashionable. We could all do with looking a little gay, I think. Like, you know, just go, I got sweatpants, I got Crocs, I got 2 mismatched socks, and I got a t-shirt from a band that I saw when I was in college. Haven't showered in 4 days, nor have I brushed my teeth. I'm not wearing any deodorant, and I badly need a haircut. Okay? Well, at least I don't look gay. No, that's as heterosexual as it gets. Well done, sir. Oddly enough, the way for heterosexual men to pick up women is to just look a little more gay, guys. Just groom yourselves. Okay, we're good. We're not going to go any further down this road. So far, I don't feel like it's gone off the rails, but I feel like at any moment it's going to go off the rails. Let's stop before that happens. Tony really desperately wants to know when he's getting the Hummingbird V4 review. Tony, I have a Hummingbird V4 in a box back there, and I am going to be reviewing it. I actually didn't review the Hummingbird V3 because of the issues with the Express LRS receiver. The Hummingbird V4 has been sent to me. I'm going to be reviewing it, and I said to Newbie Drone, I was like, Newbie Drone, can we talk? Can we talk? I want to include in this video an interview with Newbie Drone. I think it's probably going to be with Kelvin Lee. And we're going to talk about some of the weird decisions Newbie Drone makes, how they responded to the V3 Express LRS bug kerfuffle, and so on. Well, that'll just be a part of the review. Anyway, I'm working on that. This week. Is the Mobula 6 Race HD a good first drone? That's the, is that the HD0 one? If you have decided you want HD0 as your video system, the Race HD is a solid choice. Yes, that's a solid choice. You could get I actually think the Race HD is better than the Freestyle. It has the adjustable up tilt on the camera. If I remember right, the canopy on the Freestyle has a locked up tilt, which kind of annoyed me. The motor KV is going to be a little higher on the Race, but it'll be okay. You could do a throttle curve if you think it's too much power. It's nice and lightweight. It's not going to be the most durable compared to some other things, but as an HD0 whoop goes, it's going to be a solid choice. You could make an argument that a beginner would be better served by going with analog. And one reason for that is that an analog whoop is going to be about half the price of the HD0 whoop. Not quite half. Analog whoop's going to come in around 100, 110. The Mobula 6 Race HD is 190. And those prices you can expect to go up now that tariffs are in play. Are you winning, son? I'm so tired of winning. Please stop. I can't take any more winning. I was told that I would say, I'm tired of winning. Please stop. I can't take any more winning. I think that was close to the exact quote. We're going to win so much, and you're going to say, please stop. I can't take any more. And I didn't think that would come true, and it did. Please stop. I can't take any more winning. And by winning, I mean tariffs that raise the price of every single thing that I buy. You're right. Sorry. I was reminiscing. The thing you should think about is analog. You guys hear about the de minimis exemption going away, right? Yeah. You might think about buying analog instead. It's going to be way cheaper. But if you've decided HD0 is the way you want to go, then this is a good choice. What's the de minimis exemption, Blunty? Do we want to talk about that? On the one hand, it's an annoying topic that will trigger the chat, and the chat will start being annoying, and we'll have to time out a bunch of people because they'll start saying a whole bunch of political shit that crosses a line. As far as but on the other hand, it directly affects us.
It doesn't have to be a thing. Everything under $800 didn't have tariffs before. It will have tariffs now. That's it. We're done. There's
a percent or a dollar amount?
It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. You'll pay what you pay. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, why get into details? It's going to be something, and it may change in 3 weeks, and it may change in a month, and it may change in 2 months, and it may change in 4 months, and the numbers might change, and the averages might change. There's no reason. You know what I mean? It's like you're getting tariffs on things you weren't before because they're under $800 is being removed, and everything's being tariffed now. The numbers and specifics are probably going to change, and they're definitely going to change in the next month or two.
That's fair.
I don't understand. I don't even see a reason to go into it.
Okay. Basically, everything is going to get more expensive, including shit that you buy from AliExpress that previously you weren't paying tariffs on. It's going to go up in price. That sucks. Yeah. I think Joseph Dahari has posted a 54% tariff rate. The number I heard was like $25 or 30%, whichever is less, or something like that. We don't know the number. Maybe we just don't know. You're gonna find out. Yeah. Might get cheaper for the rest of us, though. Oh, people outside the U.S.? I don't know. Yeah. All right. Here it goes. The chat's starting to go off the rails. All right. Let's move on. Your videos helped me a lot in my first step of your journey. Thank you for a $2 super chat, Overclock. Okay. Here we go. Let's continue with the questions. Those were the super chats. Does anybody know anything about using the C2 interface to unbrick an ESC on an F405 V4? So, first of all, only if you have 8-bit ESCs does the C2 flash work. The idea is that if you brick an 8-bit ESC, there's a secret programming interface. It's not really secret, that you can use to flash get the firmware back on it. There isn't great documentation of how to do it. I have a very old video about how to do it from 2016. This is all extremely out of date. Maybe you could use it to figure out how to do it. Like, it's using an Arduino. Like, Arduino still exists. So you might be able to figure it out. Here's a newer 2018 video. I don't even know if this is C2 though. Probably the best guide today is this video, or not video, this article from Oscar Leong. Showing how to do it. And that would be the thing you would do. I would refer you to this video, or link rather, and I would try to do my best to follow along. Glenn Coilers says, I bought a brand new NanoFly 20 2S04 Lite PNP, but unfortunately I can't fly with it. I have no input from the DJI controller. You bought the PNP version. That suggests that it doesn't have a receiver in it. You do have colored receiver bars. That means your flight controller does support S-Bus. That's good. You need to make sure it's set to S-Bus protocol in the receiver tab. And then the other common thing is the fast S-Bus option. Go into your goggles and check that whether the goggles are set for fast S-Bus or normal, and try toggling that setting. That's a common thing that could do it. Is the Darwin 240 Johnny 5 a good choice? Devim. That's Devrim. It once was a good choice. It's not anymore. I'll tell you why. So this is the... by the way, I reviewed this quadcopter. I have a video about it. Darwin 240 Johnny 5 is $260. Here's the deal. This is an okay, cheap 5-inch. The only part on it that is definitively, categorically terrible is the camera. That absolutely, it's unflyably bad. I'll show you what I mean. Darwin 240? Come on. I did a review of it. Okay, that pisses me off that I can't find it. There we go. It was the space in Darwin 240. Yeah. Let's mute him. Where is some flight footage? Motors, flight test. Okay. Look how narrow the field of view on the camera is. It's awful. I don't know if you can tell. Like, also, it is a 16:9 camera being sent to a 4:3 screen. Now, you could fix that. You could set your screen to 16:9, but by default, everybody's goggles are 4:3. So it is stretched, and then when you roll, it kind of stretches and warps and wiggles. That's annoying. But more fundamentally, the field of view is like 90 degrees. You can't see freaking anything. It's impossible to have the right amount of up tilt. I would call it unflyable. Like, obviously, you can see that I'm flying it, but I'm having to be super careful about flying near anything because I cannot see what's next to me. In my opinion, this camera is absolute trash and it's a total deal breaker for the build. See, like I can't see near these trees. I can't line it up. Everything's coming at me from nowhere. So, what I say in this video is, you unstretch the camera, yeah, show how to do that. What I say in this video is, you need to put a new camera on it. You see the difference? You see the difference in the field of view? Is this not insane? Look how much more you can see with a proper camera versus this POS. Trash. Absolute trash. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem. $260. Whoops. What's the Eco? There we go. Nazgul Eco. iFlight Nazgul Eco. $229. Oh shit. Hello. With receiver? Sure, with receiver. Okay, it's going to be a little more. $245. Still cheaper than this POS. Everything on the Darwin 240 is absolutely cut rate. The motors, very cheap. The flight controller and ESC, extremely cheap. But it works. It'll get you in the air. The only part on this is that's absolutely unusably rejectable is the camera. So now you're going to spend $25 more on a new camera, maybe more. So the actual price of the Darwin 240 is $260, $270, $280, say $285, $290 once you fix the camera. $290. Whereas I can get the XL5 Eco, which has really good motors. It has the Zing E Pro motors. Those are solid motors. It has a decent camera. It has good flight controller, good ESC. Not the best in the world, but 1,000 times better than this POS. If this thing was $200, maybe. $175, absolutely, all day. You buy this for $175, you put a new camera in it, you're in for $200 total, and you're happy. But at a price of $260, and you still have to buy a new camera and put a new camera on it, not even worth considering. Don't even look twice at it. Get the Nazgul XL5 Eco instead. All day. It's 260 with two 4S batteries. Did I screw that up? Oh. All right. Well, let's hang on. Oh. $200. I didn't see that this battery was selected. Do you see that? That's my mistake. Thank you in the chat. Thank you in the chat. That's with propellers too. Oh my God, look at that. $200. Okay. Oh, hang on. We're almost there. That's without receiver, though. Hold on. Like for like, $215. Oh, it's right on the edge. Because I still have to replace the camera. And make no doubt about it, you have to replace the camera. Unless they've, like, switched out the camera to a completely different camera, which I don't know. I don't think they have. That is almost cheap enough to make it worth thinking about buying, but this is just such a better $245 versus $215. It's $30 more to get a quadcopter that is 5 times better. I would still get the Nazgul. That did bring the price down though, so thank you for pointing that out. All right, that's a more apples to apples comparison. Lone Wolf says, I got a Mobula 704 and I can't get the FPV RC2 to show any input in the receiver tab. What should I be checking? Well, so we went through some of those things on a previous question. I want to refer you to this video, How to Bind DJI RC Controller to Betaflight. And this goes through like 7 different things that you need to check to make sure that it's going to work, and it's probably one of those things. So without going more into specifics, I'll leave you with that. And we kind of talked about that a little bit already. Paulo Poica 13 says, I can hear audio recorded from my Eachine goggles in the DVR, but I only hear static on my SkyZone goggles. Why is that? One reason that might be, I'm not 100% sure it's this reason, but one reason that might be is that video transmitters send audio either on the left or the right audio channel. So an NTSC feed has the ability to carry audio, and it has a left and a right audio channel for stereo audio. Video transmitters only transmit on one of those channels. I don't know why they don't do both, but they don't, historically. The receiver module in the goggles will record audio from either the left or the right. Again, why don't they do both? I don't know, but they don't. If the video transmitter is transmitting on the left and the receiver is listening on the right, you will get no audio. And my guess would be that just by coincidence, the EV800D is listening to the same audio channel that the video transmitter is on, and the other goggle is not. How much sim time do you recommend before I start flying my 5-inch? That's going to vary depending on person. Some people, after 3 hours in the simulator, they're just a natural and they're probably ready to fly. Some people, after 20 hours in the simulator, they still are struggling and they're not there yet. It's not about the number of hours as much as it is your ability to control the drone. What you need to be able to do before you fly a real drone is you need to have enough control of the drone, number one, that you're not going to just fly it away and crash it somewhere unsafe, okay? So let's say you're flying your drone at a soccer field, right? Or a football field or a big field at a park. You need to be able to keep the drone within the bounds of that field, because outside the bounds of that field, there may be people, buildings, cars, other things that we don't want to crash our drone in. If you don't have enough control in the simulator to mostly keep the drone in a certain specified area, then you're not ready to fly. You need to be able to set the drone down. It doesn't mean you need to be able to do a precision landing, but you need to be able to set the drone down, or at least sort of in a semi-controlled way crash the drone. And if you start losing control, you need to be able to get control back or set the drone down in a semi-controlled way so that you don't create an unsafe condition. So if you could take off the drone in the simulator and you start to fly, but the minute you do a sharp turn, you just hit the reset button, you're not ready to fly yet. Okay? You need to be able to control the drone, and if you lose control, get control back. You need to be able to keep it in a given area, and then you need to have enough control that you're not going to hit something in the area. If you're in a soccer field and you're standing at the end of the field, you need to be able to avoid hitting yourself. If there are other people for some reason on the field, which there shouldn't be, but you never know. If there are obstacles in the flight area, because not every flight area is just a big open field. Sometimes there's trees or other obstacles. You need to be able to avoid those obstacles. As long as you have the basic control of your drone's speed, altitude, and position to the point where you can sort of mostly safely and without just wildly being out of control fly it around in the simulator, then I would say you're good to go in real life. You just need to be aware that in real life you have things like you could fail-safe your control link, you could lose video, you have other concerns, and you just kind of need to make a judgment for yourself of whether you're there yet. But it's not about hours, it's about capability. Which would be best? Oh, hang on a second, Rodrigo. I got a pinned question from Big Data Pimp. I'll get that next. Let me get this question from Rodrigo. We'll go to Big Data Pimp's comment. Hey, JB, what would be the best? 04 Pro plus N3 for a 5-inch upgrade from analog, or an analog tiny trainer with 10 3S packs for the same price? Rodrigo, the 04 Pro with the N3 is a solid choice for a 5-inch. You're probably going to love it. And when I say things like that, some people accuse me of being a DJI shill. That Bardwell is always shilling DJI to newbies. And I'm like, that's just an observation. Like, it's a generalization, so there are exceptions. Absolutely. No question. But, like, most people who buy the DJI FPV system love it and don't want to do anything else. I think that's backed up by, like, numbers. And it's not shilling or bias for me to objectively report that. Right? Not everybody, but, you know, sometimes when you make generalizations. So you're probably going to like the O4 Pro and the N3, and you're probably going to want to stick with DJI once you experience it compared to analog. If you're big into racing, you fly the Tiny Trainer. Oh, hang on, back up. And I feel like maybe these are the kind of statements that I don't get enough credit for, although whatever. I don't spend my life worrying about whether the internet's giving me credit for, I just do my thing. If you're serious into racing, DJI is going to be a bad choice. Yes, DJI now has a racing mode, which makes it more compatible than ever before with racing, and yet still leaves a lot to be desired. And all the serious racers either run analog or HD0 because it has ultra low latency and because it's fully compatible with timing and monitoring systems used by races. So if you're serious about racing, I would probably stick to analog. And you could get the DJI for fun flying and cruising, but you're going to go back to analog or HD0 for racing, probably. And again, that's a generalization. Some people do race on DJI. They're in the minority, though, and that's just not normal. Well, normally what people do. Big Data Pimp says, Sims never felt close to the real thing as flying. Every time I tried practicing with one, my real flying took a hit. Forget Sims, just do the real thing. Don't bother with the sim, just fly. So here's how I would respond to that. Yes, Sims do not feel like the real thing. A sim is not a substitute for real flying. But Sims have their place. Like, let's say that I was a racing driver, okay? And I know this for a fact because I know for a fact that real racing drivers do this. I'm a racing driver and I'm going to go to a new course. And I don't really know the course yet. I don't know the corners, the turns, the braking points, the turn-in points, the apexes, and other such words that racing drivers use. I can get in a simulator, and I can drive the course in the simulator. Now, you could say, that simulator is not an accurate representation of the real car. There's no G-forces in a simulator. Even if you had a full motion simulator, it's still not the same as the real thing. And yet, by practicing in the simulator, I will learn valuable information that will help me when I'm in a real car. If I'm going to multi-GP nationals, I'm going to go race. I can practice the track in the simulator. And no, the simulator does not feel perfectly accurate. But when I show up at the real thing, I will know that course inside and out because I've practiced it maybe for hundreds of laps in the real thing. And the first thing that's going to happen when I fly the course with my real drone is I'm going to go, oh, my muscle memory is all wrong because, like, the physics are different. And I'm immediately going to start adjusting that, but I will still be ahead of the guys who showed up to the race never having flown the course at all before. I'll still be ahead because I'll know the course, I'll know the gates, I'll know the lines, etc., etc. So who is the sim useful for? The sim is useful for beginners who have no muscle memory. One of the things that people, Big Data Pimp, I think you're probably a pretty experienced pilot. You've been here for a long time. One of the things that we do as experienced pilots that we forget unless we spend a lot of time training beginners, which I do. And you may also, I don't want to presume. When I am seeing that the drone is descending, I don't have to think, the drone is descending. If the drone is descending, I raise the throttle. Okay, throttle is on the left. I raise the stick on the left. I don't think about that. If I'm about to hit a gate and I want to slide to the right, I don't think, okay, I'm drifting to the left, so I need to, is it yaw? No. It's roll to the right. So roll to the right is right stick. I need to move the right stick to the right. I don't think about any of that. I just seamlessly see what the drone is doing, and without conscious thought, my fingers do what they need to do to make the drone do what it needs to do. I had an experience once where me and Stinger Swarm tried out different flight modes. You want to see how that went? Is that a Rotorite episode? Yeah, I think it was.
I'm Joshua Bardwell.
And I am Stinger Swarm.
Oh,
Today,
look at us.
we are going to shake up our
Look at Stingy. Oh my god.
transmitter. Throttle on the left, yaw on the left, pitch and roll on the right. That's
Okay.
just how you do it, right? And then when I pop it up, it starts going like this. For some reason, I don't. I haven't
here
even
we
taken
go.
off yet. This
So I believe I'm in mode 4 and he's in mode 3. I don't remember. And I thought to myself, surely I can just consciously override what the sticks do and very slowly control the drone. Hang on, let me turn my overlay off. Let's see how
is
it
going
went.
to be roll. Oh, crap. I'm just going to take off. Where's my disarm? Okay, I'm so freaked out.
So
right
I
now.
got
Let me
throttle
do
on the
this.
right.
Oh my god,
You
what's
can see.
happening? Why is my quad? What is my quad doing? It's facing the wrong way. I haven't even taken off yet. I'm already freaking out. Oh my god. Oh. I tried to pitch back, and I throttled
Shaking
down.
the camera,
It's
laughing.
so ingrained in my brain. Getting in the air right now. Oh god. Pitch forward. Roll. Just I have no control whatsoever. The quad is pitching back, and I have no idea why it's pitching back, and it just takes me so long to decide what I need to do to correct it. All the while, my fingers are doing the wrong things. Like I want to pitch back, so I throttle down. So it just gets away from me and out of control instantly.
How high off the ground did you get it?
I don't think I got it super high.
I'm saying like pop it up 10 to 20 feet.
But the thing is that when I go to pop it up, it starts like this, and you kind of go, and then you're flying.
Oh, you're not getting the first part?
I'm just having trouble leveling it and facing it. And then when I pop it up, it starts going like this for some reason. I don't know why. And I just don't know what to do to correct it. So I'm scared to give it throttle. What do beginners do? I really, my fingers just do not know what to tell the quad to do. I feel like a total noob. Get it in the air with
right.
authority. No,
Well,
why? 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 Pitch forward, please. But not that much. Maybe I need to lower my rates. Oh my god. In the entry, my rates are sick.
Okay, so then I get it in the air,
That's the throttle right there.
and it just is out of control. I almost lose it over the street.
Pitch forward. Yaw.
I'm desperately trying. I want to mute the music, but I can barely fly the damn thing. And my point is, this whole time I am consciously thinking, pitch forward, pitch is on the left stick forward. And by the time I do that, my hands have already pushed the right stick forward because my muscle and my brain, it's subconscious, knows that pitch is on the right stick. And my point, going back to Big Data Pimp's question, is that building those connections between your mind, your fingers, and your perception of what the drone is doing, that is something that is fantastic to do in the simulator. The physics don't matter. All that matters is the basic mapping of quadcopter need to pitch forward. What does finger do? And that's what you're building when you're getting that first 5 or 10 or 15 hours in the sim. And that's why I think it's absolutely essential to start in the sim. Because if you start with a real drone, you will just crash the shit out of it, probably. And once you start to have that mapping, now you go to the real thing, and now the physics start to matter. So I maintain that for a beginner, starting in the sim is absolutely the right way to do it. Anyway, thought you guys would enjoy that. How are we doing on super chats? Let's get a couple more super chats. Any good Whoop flight controllers with no built-in ELRS or a VTX? You don't want a VTX or an ELRS. Well, let's see. I mean, let's just go look at what Happy Model has to offer. Super X ELRS, Super X ELRS. That's not a whoop flight controller. Man, I think they all have Express LRS these days, don't they? Don't they? I mean, I think they all do. Maybe all is too strong of a word, but I sure think most of them do. Electronics, flight controllers, brushless FC. Matrix 1S. Oh, you can get a 3-in-1. What's a 3-in-1? No, that's a receiver. 3-in-1 is a receiver. 4-in-1 is a video transmitter, right? 3-in-1, yeah. No, all the whoop flight controllers come with ELRS these days. Like, there may be an exception, but, like, why wouldn't you want a built-in ELRS is my question. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to find one. Like, everybody assumes... What about the Air brushless? Is that one?
I'll just
Yeah.
mention that on most of these, they have a solder point that you can disable the onboard ELRS if you need to.
Well, you mean the Beta FPV ones specifically?
I'm not sure. Almost every single version I've seen has some way to disable it in case you need to use another receiver. But
Well, that's good to know. I knew that some of them do. I don't know. I wasn't willing to generalize to most. Let's see if we can find that. I mean, there would be an instruction here, you would think. Uh-huh. How do you disable the built-in one? Would be the question. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this Beta FPV flight controller, thank you, Plenty, has a resistor you can remove. You can desolder this resistor, which disables the built-in VTX, or the built-in receiver, so you could use external serial receiver. So this would be a good choice. The Air brushless flight controller seems like a solid choice. No VTX, and the built-in receiver is disableable.
also, Chad is saying the 4-in-1, the Air 4-in-1 has no no ELRS.
Well, what is a 4-in-1? Does a VTX? What's the 4-in-1?
Air, I think it's that Air, the third. Oh, that's the one you looked at. I don't know.
That's the Air
4-in-1.
brushless. The Matrix 1S? No. That's the one I'm looking at. That has a VTX also. The 4-in-1 has a VTX. He said he didn't want a VTX either.
Okay.
Yeah, he said no Express LRS, no VTX. So I think the closest is going to be the Air brushless without the VTX, the 3-in-1, and then disable the receiver using that solder bridge. Why does my quad pitch hard and roll right after throttle cutoff? Make sure air mode is enabled. Make sure your idle speed is not too low. Those are the two things I would check. Color 123. Oh, thank you for another $5. Color. I'm about to purchase my first receiver ready quad. I fly mainly plug and play DJI. What's a solid choice, TBS or Express LRS? I want the best connection. These days, Express LRS is more popular than TBS. Express LRS is less expensive, and Express LRS has a wide variety of hardware available from a wide variety of vendors. Express LRS is less consistent in terms of its hardware quality because lots of different manufacturers make it, whereas TBS is only made by, Crossfire is only made by TBS, and they ensure that the quality stays high. Express LRS has certain learning curve hurdles about flashing and binding that some people find frustrating. And so TBS Crossfire is going to give you a little bit more of a refined experience, a little bit smoother user experience at the expense of a little bit higher cost. Sometimes it's out of stock. And the other thing is Crossfire is 900 megahertz only, whereas Express LRS can be either 900 or 2.4, so you have your choice about long range versus smaller antennas. So I would steer you towards Express LRS. It just seems to be where everyone is these days and has a lot of options. But I have to acknowledge that Crossfire is going to overall have like more consistent build quality and a less frustrating experience for some people who struggle a little bit with Express LRS's learning curve. What are the best goggles for versatility? I'll be flying analog, HD0, and walk snail. Skyzone Sky 04X Pro is a good value. Yep. HD0 box goggles, good choice. HD0 goggles, good choice. All of them. The big selling point of the HD0 box goggles is that the HDMI input has like 1 millisecond latency, which is, I think, the lowest. I'm not sure if the HD0 goggles are even that low. They might be. So... Ali Ashraf says, thank you for your donation. Well, thank you for your donation. I don't know who I donated to, but thank you. Let's see here. Wombat in a top hat says, I jumped right into a 5-inch drone. How much of a mistake was that? Well, it depends on how much sim experience you have. Maybe no mistake. If you're solid in the sim, you go right to a 5-inch. You need to respect the fact that it can injure you, and you need to learn and follow safe protocols for handling of the drone. Like, if you had a 65 millimeter whoop, like, oh, what's the worst that's going to happen if you throttle up and, you know, it's like going to get tangled in your hair. It's not going to hurt you. So, like, if you got sloppy with a 65 millimeter whoop and you, like, armed it and then you picked it up, or you like didn't unplug the battery immediately after picking it up, or you set your controller down and you were fussing with it, you plugged it in and somebody could hit the arm switch, who really cares? 65 millimeter isn't going to hurt you really. With a 5-inch, you got to treat that thing like a dangerous machine that can hurt you seriously, because it is. So like you would want to respect, you wouldn't want to like do oh, hang on. I got to look and see if the receiver's bound. And you like hold it up to your face with the freaking battery plugged in and the props on. You know, you don't be a dumbass. You know, people, I say that, but like people injure themselves on 5 inches all the time. So clearly not everybody has, you know, you need to, common sense isn't enough. You need training and procedures and protocols. So, but the question is, do you know how to fly? Yeah, Blinty.
Is it time for the discussion? You released a new drone, right? You released a new kit. It's not 5-inch.
It's a 3-inch.
Okay, now the question is that for specifically to catch sub 250?
Yep.
Or is that because you think people should be building a 3-inch?
Nope.
That's the question.
It's 1000% because I don't know why. Can't imagine why there's a sudden uptick in interest in sub 250 drones for regulatory reasons. I'm being sarcastic. So Get FPV was like, hey, a lot of people want to buy a sub 250 drone. Do you want to do a sub 250 build kit? And I was like, sure. Like you could make an argument that a 3-inch is better for a beginner than a 5-inch. A 3-inch is potentially going to be more durable in a crash because it's lighter, although not necessarily, because in order to get the weight down below, like a 3-inch with no weight limit is going to be more durable than a 5-inch. But a sub 250 3-inch, you do make some compromises. Like we had to use 1404 motors. We would have liked to use bigger motors, and bigger motors would have been more durable probably. But we had to get under 250 grams, and using smaller motors was how to do that. So a sub 250 3-inch isn't necessarily even more durable than a 5-inch. It's a little bit safer because the props are smaller and less powerful. But no, I would say that a beginner who puts in the time in the simulator to become sufficiently competent at flying can go straight to a 5-inch. They just need to make sure they think and study and maybe even watch a Bardwell video about how to be safe with it so they don't like chop their face up.
So then, extrapolating from this, Are you suggesting? So the question I've had for a long time, right, and as someone who flies 5-inch, 3-inch, 2-inch, and toothpicks and everything, is do you think that 5-inch is just superior? We found the right prop size early. It's good. We did it. And that's what's going to be the 5-inch that feels the right way to fly an FPV drone? Or as technology has progressed, do you think we're in a world where 3-inch feels good enough that, like, if we had done this 5 years ago, 7 years, whatever, whenever 5-inch hit the scene, do you really think that 5-inch would be the thing?
So that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Like, because you can't sort of unwind history. And we ended up on 5-inch because 5-inch turned out to be the sweet spot for sort of power, durability, cost. There were all these factors that went into play, and 5 inches turned out to be the sweet spot. And that decision was made before, we got to the point where we're at now with technology. Like, it used to be that the smaller motors were really just underpowered. You didn't get a lot of speed, agility, performance. And so now you can build a 3-inch, or I think 3.5-inch is really like a sweet spot. You can build a 3.5-inch that flies just as good as a 5-inch, does all the acrobatic tricks. Frankly, if you want it to, it can be as fast as a 5-inch. You can really tick all the boxes you tick with a 5-inch with a 3.5-inch. It's not going to be identical in the way it flies, but it will be able to sort of scratch that itch in almost every way, maybe every way. And so then the question would be, well, why didn't we settle on 3.5 inches instead of 5-inch? And the answer is largely because if you go back 5 years, well, even longer, because it's been a long time. If you go back 8 years, 10 years to when these sort of decisions were being made, 3.5 inches, they just didn't have very powerful 3-inch motors, 3.5-inch motors, et cetera, et cetera. I do think 5 inches is a sweet spot. As you think about the prop size is largely proportional to the weight that you want to carry, the weight of the drone itself, and then a camera and so forth. And when you look at the typical weight that a 5-inch comes out at, 5 inches is the sweet spot for that weight. And so we've got this sort of synergy here where we build a drone that has a sufficient amount of durability. We pick the motors that are going to give us a sufficient amount of power, and all of these curves kind of come together, and it turns out a 5-inch prop is just about right for that. You go up to a bigger drone and even say a 7-inch, there's not that much difference between a 5-inch and a 6-inch, but I think if you go in 2-inch increments from a 5-inch to a 7-inch, there's a big difference. Even if you were to try to build the similar weight, the size of motor and the responsiveness of the prop of a 7-inch immediately has different handling characteristics in terms of the responsiveness to inputs and the stability in the air. A 7-inch just feels very different than a 5-inch in terms of its floatiness and its willingness to descend. In terms of flight time and battery that you need to power a 7-inch is immediately bigger and heavier. So you just immediately are in a different regime. And the same when you go from 5 inches down to 3 inches. Again, I think 2-inch increments are really the difference between a 5-inch and a 4-inch is kind of subtle. But a 5-inch and a 3-inch, again, is very, very distinct. And then I think once you get below 3 inches, 3 inches, 2 inches, 1.6 inches, now we're down. Those gradations have gotten a lot closer and are a lot more distinct. And it just seems like 5 inches is a sweet spot.
Bad for Life in the chat suggests that maybe it was pushed by GoPros. People wanted to carry things like GoPros as weight.
Valid.
And so maybe the digital revolution has also changed that for people, right? Where we've now got,
I don't know,
good cameras and DVR instead of a GoPro that we're carrying. So the goal weight is lower. If you want to add a GoPro, you have to get bigger, right?
Absolutely.
That's sort of the idea.
It's really hard to have good flight characteristics if you're carrying a GoPro on anything smaller than a 5-inch, unless you start doing naked GoPro or something. I do think that cameras like the 04, really, even the good FPV cameras like the DJI the Vista system, though the DVR from the Vista was not cinematic by any means, but it was good enough, especially compared to analog, that a lot of people were just screw it. If I'm not publishing this, if I'm not trying to make a Johnny FPV cinematic masterpiece, I'm just going to I'm going to leave my GoPro off. And now we've got cameras like the 03, like the Moonlight even, which give you maybe not quite GoPro quality, but good, close enough as you're do I really want to put a $200 GoPro on this thing? The thing is, and so with that, builds like a 3-inch build have become more viable, right? Because now we can get good quality HD footage, more than good enough for posting on YouTube, maybe even good enough for professional use off of a quadcopter without a GoPro. But like on a 5-inch, I would still rather have a 5-inch weighing in at 650 grams with no GoPro, or maybe even 600 grams, than a 5-inch with a GoPro weighing 750 or 800 grams, however that math works out. Like, I would still prefer a 5-inch, and just because like a 650 gram 5-inch is a blast to fly, and a 750 or 800 gram 5-inch is still fun to fly, but boy, a 650 gram is woof, 700 gram woof, you know. And likewise on a 3-inch, if you've got a 3-inch with a DJI O4 in it, that's a little chunky for a 3-inch, but it'll do, right? So, yeah. And then the other thing I have to acknowledge is, like, there's people out there who fly 65 millimeter, 75 millimeter, and that's just their jam. And they don't want to fly a 5-inch. They think that 65 is the sweet spot. And so we have to acknowledge that, you know, every size has its advantages and its proponents and its adherents. But 5-inch really seems to be where you have as much power, speed, and agility as you could possibly want for most applications. And the durability is pretty good. And like, and you start going down to 3-inch or even smaller, and now you're making some compromises. Like, I think below 3-inch, you really feel the changes in the handling, in the power, in the floatiness, in the responsiveness. And then above, say, 5.5 inches, you really feel the difference in terms of the stability and the floatiness. And there's just like this spot where it really seems like 3.5 to 5 inches is just really good. So I don't know. It's hard to say whether that's objective or whether that's just what I'm used to, though. Good question. Thank you, Plenty. Can I glue the O4 light antenna as it keeps popping off the UFL connector? Yeah, you can. J. Deep Shah. E6000 or E7000 is an okay choice for adhesive to glue it with. I think E7000 is less sticky or something. It gets harder and maybe a better choice. I'm desperate to find the old toothpick frames that Kebab FPV used to build years ago, but I can't find anything. Does anyone know? Does Kebab still make them? Like, he just released a new frame, the Glide 8. Like, FPV Cycle baby tooth frame. Add to cart. You mean this one? My guy. Is this one? Is this the one you're asking for? The TP3? Okay, he says people are saying the TP3 is the one he wants. Okay. You mean this one? Okay. So he's only got the frame kit. No, there you go. In stock. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not in stock. Notify when available. Okay, my bad. My bad. Damn. All right, well, I had to look. Sometimes the obvious answer is the right one. Who else makes a good toothpick frame? I remember the Halo RC guitar pick. What about the guitar pick? I'm sure there are more. This is just one that had come to my mind. I remember the name of. Is it in stock? Add to cart. Out of stock. All right, well, F you. No toothpick for you, friend. There you go. Does Pyro have them? Somebody in the chat says Pyro has them. Okay, here's the Apex Racing toothpick. I mean, it doesn't sound like you have a lot of choices. So, there you go. That's what you're going to buy. Because it's in stock. And that's how life is. Modes1 says, Kebab is on Discord. Hit him up. I'm sure he'll cut one for you. Maybe so. Blunty, will you do the email address copy paste real quick? Somebody's asking for email in the chat. Thank you, Blunty. Blunty's the only one allowed to spam the chat. Check CNC drones. Okay, that's a good choice. CNC drones cuts a lot of people's designs. Hello. Ooh. Oh, no, that's not a toothpick. That's questionably a toothpick. Most of the time a toothpick will have a stack design, but that could be a toothpick. The Eclair V3. That might not be what you want, but it might be. My job is having me trained to fly FPV for video production. I'm in the sim right now, but they're also looking at recommendations for Cinewhoops. That's what you get, Skydozer. But they're also... I didn't realize it would delete all of his messages in the chat. That's hilarious. My job's having me trained to fly FPV for video production. I'm in the sim right now, but they're also looking at recommendations for Cinewhoops. They're thinking Avata 2. No, Avata 2. No. Avata. I mean, the Avata 2 is a good drone. It's not an FPV drone. If you will fly the Avata 2 for your job, then that's what you should train on. But if they want you to fly like an FPV Cinewhoop, you should not train on the Avata 2. It's a completely different animal. Okay? So I would check the GEPRC Cinelog 3.0 as a choice. Which one fail-safes more, Express LRS or TBS? That is a risky question. I will say that objectively, factually, at the same output power and the same packet rate, Express LRS has more sensitivity and therefore will have longer range. All else being equal, which it may not be. Express LRS is a more compact packet format. Express LRS has been optimized for small packet size, and that means that for a given packet rate, Express LRS can use a lower bitrate modulation, which gives more signal to noise ratio, more sensitivity. In other words, all else being equal, Express LRS will give longer range or better penetration than Crossfire. Now that will not be true for much longer, because I have heard rumors that TBS is working on an updated protocol, and who knows when it will actually hit the streets, right? 2 weeks from now. That's a joke for those who are new to the hobby. The joke is that any new TBS product will come out in 2 weeks. The actual time will vary. I think that TBS has been working on a response to Express LRS for a while, and eventually it'll come out, and then they will probably be at the same or better. But for now, under identical conditions, Express LRS will go further. The actual reality, who knows? Got a couple more super chats coming in. My HD0 VTX OSD is shifted to the right half of the screen, says Comic Sniper. It's set to HD in Betaflight. Your HD0 OSD. If it was Walk Snail, there is an OSD positioning that can cause that. HD0. Update the Comic Sniper. Okay, Comic Sniper says if I swap the VTX, it works okay. Update the firmware on the VTX. I've seen issues like this where the VTX was on an old firmware. Update the firmware on the VTX to the latest, and same with the goggles. I think that'll fix it. Axel Foley, thank you for 10 euros. Today's the day. Excuse me. Today's the day. No question. Just wanted to say thanks for all your great work. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the donation, Axel. Wade Cloyd, thank you for $5. I'm planning on buying your new frame kit, and I'm not worried about sub 250. What motor size and brand would you use? I'll tell you the truth, Wade, and I shouldn't tell you this, because the rule is never discourage a customer from buying when they're getting ready to make a buying decision. That's if I were a salesperson, that's what I would say. Just this morning at 9 a.m., I got this message. I'm going to screenshot it so I don't accidentally share any more of the conversation than I mean to. If it were up to me and I didn't care about the 250 gram limit, which I don't, I would build the 3.5 inch version. That's what I would do. I'd build the 3.5 inch because I think 3.5 inch flies a little better than 3 inch. Now that doesn't exist. You can't buy it. Literally, the prototype of that plate was cut in Ryan Harrell's house today. So we're at least like a month out, maybe more, I don't know, from actually having a product you can buy. But that's what I would do. As far as motors go, I don't know. I always struggle with 3.5 inch motors. I think like 16 millimeter. Let's see, what the Baby Hawk 2? What motors does it have? 3.5 inch. I wish Ciati was here. I think he recommends like a 16.0 and a KV. Let's look at what they've got. 1404. Shut up. No, that's for babies. That's for babies. All motors. Can I get motors by size? Oh, shut up. Stator size. Let's see what we got for a 16 millimeter motor. 1604, 5, 8. Oh, I can't select multiples. 1605 is the, oh my god, Aerolite. 1608. No. 1604? That feels right. That's in the ballpark. 1404 is okay for 3.5, but you get a lot better performance out of a little bit bigger motor. T-Motor 1604, 2850 kV. That's, yeah. So that's the one I'm shooting for, but you may not be able to buy it now that T-Motor, now that vendors seem to be paying attention to T-Motor's sanctions. T-Motor has been on the sanctioned list for a while, but nobody seemed to care. And lately, one vendor was like, we're not going to carry them anymore. 2005s? Yeah, I think that's the next place I would go. Stator size, 2004 or a 2006? Oh, I don't know. What about a 2005? Can't have a 2005? We want like a Emax Eco 2004 3000 kV. That's got potential. 1604 on a heavy build. 1604 would be good, but there's only the T-Motors and they're out of stock, and I don't know when we'll see them again. Yeah. Michael Luna has a good comment. On a 3.5 inch, you can put 1804 3500 kV. It rips, but the Tank S only takes 9x9 mounting, so the biggest I could get was the 1505 GEP-RC motors. Valid. 1505. So you're looking for something around 3500 kV for 3.5 inch props. And then a motor in the like 15 to 16 millimeter, 1505 to 1604 range, or something like a 2004, which is going to be a little bit too big but easier to find. Maybe a 2003. I don't know if there's very many 2003 motors. I know there's a few. None here. No. 2006. Who makes a 2006? What a weird motor. No, don't buy that. All right. RC and Power Smooks would be a great choice. 1507. Ooh. $1507. That, yeah. They're selling it as a Cinewoop motor. But Smooks plus... No, 2080 kV is too low kV. 2680, come on. 38, oh, here you go. The Smooks 1507, 3800 kV. Does that have 9x9 mounting, though? What mounting? It's got 12 millimeter mounting, so that's out. A 3.5 inch frame isn't going to have 12 millimeter mounting. Is it? It's a 9 millimeter mounting. Yeah, that's tempting. That would be very tempting. All right. Can we do analog with the Goggles X? Asks Overclock. Yes, you can. They have an analog input. They're not fantastic analog goggles. Like, do they have a DVR yet? I don't think they have a built-in DVR. But yes. I'm thinking about getting the 03 starter kit from Rotor Riot. Does that come with a remote ID module, or do I need one? It does not come with one. Whether you need one is a moral and legal question. The drone is over 250 grams. If you fly it for commercial purposes, you need a module, according to the FAA. If you fly it for recreational purposes, anywhere except an FRIA, a FRIA field, which is an area that the FAA has designated for flying without remote ID. If you fly it for recreational purposes anywhere except a FRIA, you need a remote ID module, according to the FAA. It's worth pointing out, some people would say, just leave it at that. It's worth pointing out, I'll say one more nice thing. It's super easy to spend $40, $30 even if you get it on sale, on a little module like this. Completely self-contained, weighs not very much, and you stick this on your drone, and boom, you're compliant. It's extremely easy. That being said, a lot of people are just like, come get me. And the practical reality of the situation is that no one is going to get you for simply flying without a remote ID module. I just, that's the truth. I wish I were more of a rebel. Like, I'm enough of a rebel to tell you that. If I were like bot grinder level of rebel, I'd be like, yeah, F remote ID, don't do it. Screw the man, or whatever bot grinder. He wouldn't say that. He would be way cooler. I sound like a dork. Look at me. Look at what I'm wearing. I'm not cool. But like, just realistically, I'm not going to like, you really need to, everybody driving on the road needs to obey the speed limit at all times. Do not exceed the speed. Would you take me seriously if I actually said something like that? No. The reality is, if you buy that drone from Rotor Riot and you fly it in places where you're supposed to be flying it, and you don't make an ass of yourself, no one will ever care that you don't have remote ID on it. But if you show your ass somehow, then the fact that you didn't register it and you didn't have remote ID on it will be used to crucify you. That will be the thing that they hang you on when they want an excuse to hang you. And that's what remote ID is. So, that's realistic. What's the best multi-channel charger? I don't need AC. 4 channels would be very nice, but not necessary. Best? Hang on. I got one for you. I gotta look it up. What's that charger that Hero Psycho recommended to me? What's the charger that Hero Psycho recommended to me recently? It's a new ISDT charger. Maybe I should just look up ISDT chargers. Meanwhile, the chat has already said what it is. No. Drones and camcorders. What the fuck? AC DC charger, DC charger. Dual channel. Dual channel. They're all dual channel. What's the 4 channel? Huh. Dual channel. Huh. Alrighty. I'm sorry. I know they have a 4-channel charger, don't they? Well, I feel silly. Huh. Alrighty. What the frick? What's a 4-channel? ISDT. What am I missing here? The K4? No, that's a 2-channel and it's got AC. That's not the one. No. Alrighty. A DC only 4-channel. I don't know. I'm not finding a DC only 4-channel charger. He does need AC? I thought he said DC only. He said DC only.
That I don't need AC.
Right.
Yeah.
So he wants a DC only charger. Wait, not toolkit or C. I'm not finding a 4-channel. So I don't know if you're going to find a DC only. A lot of them are AC DC. I'm really annoyed that I can't. I'm sorry. I'm spending way too much time on this.
Hoda F6s. Is that sort of what you're thinking of?
That's a 4-channel, isn't it? Yes. Bingo. Thank you, Blunty. I knew I could think of one. So the Hoda F6 is a 4-channel DC only smart charger. That would be a good choice. 250 watts, 15 amps. Hopefully that's enough. What is the one that... Where is Hero Psycho? Suggested a new charger. Here we go. Hoda T6. There we go. Thank you. That's a... Oh, but that's a one channel. Okay, never mind. That's a single channel. Okay. So the Hoda F6. That's the takeaway. Took us a while to get there, but we did get there eventually. That's the one. Great. The F6 is DC only. Yeah. Thank you for €5 from Tumars, who says, the buzzer pad on my flight controller no longer works. Can I solder an active buzzer somewhere else? Yes, you can. You'll need to remap the buzzer output using resource reassignment. You could remap it to a UART. It would be fine. You could remap it to a motor, probably a UART, definitely a motor output. So the simplest thing to do, it's a SpeedyBee F405. SpeedyBee F405. I think mine is an F7. Is it an F4 or an F7? No. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do it. I have a SpeedyBee F405 right here. The first thing we got to do, I'm going to show you, literally. The first thing we got to do is we got to find a pad to work off of. Do we have spare motor outputs? Let's look at the board. Yes, motor 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you see right here we have motors 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, a spare motor output will work. The second thing I need to tell you is, unless you are using an active buzzer with a self-powered buzzer, and now you said active buzzer, it has to be like a V-Fly finder that has a built-in battery. Do not do this, because otherwise the buzzer will pull too much power from the pin and burn out the pin on the flight controller. But if you have a self-powered buzzer like a V-Fly finder, you 100% can do this, because it will not draw power from the pin. It'll use its own internal power source. Then, so we're going to use M5, motor output 5. The next thing, oh, sorry, wrong screen. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect. We're going to go to the CLI. I'm going to go a little bit fast because we're running up against the end of the stream. And I'm going to type resource and hit enter. And then I'm going to look for motor 5. Do you see resource motor 5 B00? Pin motor 5 is B00. Write that down, B00. Now I'm going to look for the beeper resource. Wow, here it is. Great. Resource beeper 1 CO5. Okay? So you damaged pin CO5. What you're going to do is you're going to type resource beeper 1 B00. So what you're telling it is that the beeper is now on motor 5. That's it. Save. That's it. Now, solder up your self-powered buzzer, and where you would put the buzzer wire, instead put that on motor 5. Wire everything else up normally, and you're good to go. What's your opinion on the $20 AliExpress frame kits? Thank you for a $2 super chat, Elias. They're probably fine, but they're also probably a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Sometimes a piece of shit's what you want. Sometimes you want a $45 steak. Sometimes you want a 99-cent burrito. No one would say that a 99-cent burrito is comparable to a $45 steak, but sometimes it's 2 a.m. and you're drunk, and that's what you got. So if what you want is the 99-cent burrito of frames, that's what you're going to buy. You can do a lot better for not much more money. You could buy a TBS Source 1. Hello. You could buy a Source 1 TBS Source 1 for $50. You buy a Source 1, well, they're out of stock. Never mind. Source 1 for $42. Here's a Source 1 for $35. That's a 7-inch. You see my point, though. For $20, you can order something from AliExpress that's the lowest priced piece of crap, cut rate, probably got cancer in it. You can get it. We can wait 2 weeks for it to be shipped from AliExpress. When it gets here, it'll sit in customs for a month. Then you'll get a bill for $20 because there's a tariff now or whatever. And then finally it'll come and half the screws will be missing. And you'll go back to the seller and they won't answer because it's Chinese New Year. Or you could just buy this for $35 from Race Day Quads. Good old American carbon fiber. I don't know. Right? This is a solid open source design. It's like better in a lot of ways. I don't know. You decide.
Just
That's my
a note,
opinion.
if you're talking about that Mark IV clone thing on AliExpress, then one of the know-it-alls in your chat, Chrome, has said that they tested it and it is trash. Just
Yeah.
so be aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, there are some
Like
cheap frames on AliExpress that are okay. Like the Martian clone for a long time was everybody's go-to, and it was pretty solid.
Yeah, there's some
But, like-
Apex clones that are decent, but yeah, specifically that Mark IV $20 one I think is not good.
Someone in the chat has pointed out, Kai P pointed out, that Elias Derkula, who chatted 2 euros, probably isn't an American. Well, I think it's very racist of you to assume that Elias Derkula is not an American when he's super chatting in euros. Thank you for pointing that out. You're probably right. He's ordering to Europe, in which case the whole customs and tariffs thing might still apply because Europe applies tariffs to packages too, but it's not the same. Elias Derkula is from Germany. How's my pronunciation? I've been watching a lot of Dark, so I'm getting better at pronouncing German. You say you're not cool, but that shirt is fire. Thank you for a $5 super chat, shoot FPV. And Jesus Barbara, is remote ID required on all drones now? Do I have to register it on the FAA? I left the hobby like a year ago. Thank you for $5, Jesus. Remote ID, in short, because the actual answer is long and complicated, all drones or pilots over 250 grams must be registered. And all drones or pilots used for non-recreational purposes must be registered. So the way it works is a recreational pilot registers with the FAA, gets a registration number, and puts that one registration number on all their drones. They do not register individual drones. People doing non-recreational flying will register each drone individually. And then it's the same with remote ID. So, okay.
Our last super chat. I have one thing I want to announce real quick before we
Go
go.
for it.
I put it in the Discord. International Game of Whoop is back. iGal 5. You should go sign up for this. If you don't know what iGal is, you should know. internationalgameofwhoop.com, iGal.co to go check it out. You can sign up. Registration is active. It's a thing where basically every week you get a trick and you compete against everybody else. You record your tricks or your lap or whatever they do for that week, and you sort of compete against everybody else. There are real prizes that you can get for this, and the people are competing from all over the world. You build the little things in your house and everything. It's really cool. So I think if you care at all about Whoop stuff, if you want to help with the community, especially if you're in a place where you can't be with other people, like, you can't go meet up and fly with other people. This is a great way to participate with other pilots and learn some new stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me about that, Plenty. I was just talking to iGao Dan about doing a little promotion for iGao. And it's one of the best things in FPV is iGao, and then RaceGao, which is iGao is a freestyle competition, RaceGao is a racing competition, and both of them are absolutely amazing. And we protect Dan at all costs. I would say this guy is a real.
This year, $30,000 of cash and prizes already. So there's plenty of stuff, and you don't even have to win stuff.
No. I mean, the participation alone is a blast, but I love the way he structures the prizes so that there are, well, I don't want to get too specific because I'll misspeak and then I'll misrepresent. But basically, as you said, Blunty, it's not just like the last 4 people in get all the prizes and everybody else can F off. I think he does a prize every week, doesn't he?
That was how last year went. Yeah. It was sort of based on the sponsor, I think, or like a package. And then,
So like every week, the guy who wins or girl, woman, person who wins gets a prize. And it's really great. Wonderful. Most of the prizes go to random giveaways. Even better. So simply by participating, you're entered as a chance to win a random prize. And they're good prizes. And I love it because, like, obviously, like, you want to have a prize for the person who does the best. That's like, that's like the incentive to be the winner. But also, like, the best thing about iGao is not that one dude wins because they were the best. It's that a whole lot of people participate and more people get into and enjoy the hobby. And so, like, random participation prizes encourage that. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it. We're going to wrap up. We will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the Monday evening stream. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, Blunty. See you in the next one.